Well, sitting here on my porch again, relaxing a little bit, taking a break from my work. I love sitting here on the porch, nice and peaceful, quiet. It's a joy that many people either have never experienced or forgotten. Sometimes you just need to relax, sit on your porch, enjoy a little peace and quiet. But I was thinking about what I see in the news these days, and I almost feel like, an alien that just arrived on this earth and is not really aware of what's been going on. I'm just suddenly seeing things, and it's like confusing because I don't really watch the news. We don't have cable. I'm not going to pay $100 something for 300 channels of junk piped into my home. So I get a little news occasionally off of the internet. It's what I see posted on Facebook when I get on there on occasion, things like that. But it's just amazing to me what I see going on in America. The riots and the chaos and the destruction of property and destroying every monument of every kind. And like I said, hey, maybe there's something I don't know. I mean, I know they say it's all about equality and justice and things like that, but believe me, those people that are causing all that damage wanting justice, they don't want justice. I tell you, that'd be a harsh reality for them. But they're determined to destroy every monument, and they're not using any common sense. I mean, if it's all about black equality or equality for black people or whatever, they're even defacing and destroying Abraham Lincoln's monument. I mean, of all people, he was the Republican, by the way, Republican president that freed the black slaves. Of all people, you'd think they would leave his statue alone. But that shows you there's more to this than just what they're saying it is. They're tearing down and defacing every single monument of any kind. I saw where they destroyed a statue of an angel in a cemetery. Reminds me of communist China. There's no monuments to anything there. There's no open expression of religion or honor for anything. They want all focus to be 100% on the government. And they're the elite, and they're running everything. And if you think remaking this country in the image that you would like to see in equality is going to be a good place, it's not, unless you're the ultra rich elite that's going to be a part of the ruling power. I've been to Laos a few times, and in Laos 99% of the people are just poor farmers, farming, making a living, living very, very conservatively. I'm talking about by standards that we would call poverty. Very conservatively. They're lucky if they've got a motorbike to ride. No cars or anything. There are cars, but it's the wealthy. And the amazing thing, you go to this communist country with all of these poor people, and occasionally you'll see like a brand new Hummer, you'll see a Ferrari, you'll see Mercedes, you'll see Lamborghinis even. And I thought, man, how did people under communism become so rich? And I asked some people, who are these people driving such vehicles? Oh, those are government officials. And they're living in palaces. And the government buildings look like palaces, while the average everyday person, 99% of the people, live in barns, what we would call a barn, or just living in poverty. That's what these people wanting justice and equality would like to turn America into. And I was watching Niger Ennis the other day, the director of racial equality, and I forgot what all his position is, a black gentleman, very intelligent man. He's done his research, and he explains that, openly, it's on their website. The leaders, the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement, it's not about black lives. They're Marxist. And their goal is to destroy the nuclear family, to destroy this country. And like he says, and he believes, and I do as well, the majority of the people out there that are protesting and everything, they just want justice. They just want what's right. They just want reform, we'll say. Now, many of them have gone too far. and are destroying. And I think a person's right to peaceably protest ends when it starts destroying the property of or harming innocent people. You know, if I had a neighbor and he's beating his wife, well, he needs to be corrected. I don't need to go in there and burn the house down with the wife and the kids and burn the whole neighborhood down and every home in that neighborhood and demand justice for what that man was doing to his wife. I mean, how much sense does that make? And when I see the left and the Democrats and those people pandering, that's a word we hear a lot these days, pandering to those people. Pandering, look that up. I'll give you an example of pandering. Might not be a perfect example. And as God is my witness, this is a true story. I know people like to exaggerate. Exaggeration's a lie. I'm not going to exaggerate. I'll tell you exactly what I saw. I'm up at Publix one day, and this lady walks out with her little girl, and the little girl's about, I don't know, looks like maybe 8 or 9 years old. And the little girl is screaming at her mother, calling her names and telling her, "You promised me cookies. You didn't get me cookies." And the mother's like, "Oh, now, honey, I'm sorry. I forgot. I forgot the cookies. I'm sorry. We'll get them next time." This kid is literally hitting her mother and making demands of her mother. And her mother was just bending over backwards to just sweet talk that child and make amends with that child and reason with that child. I guess that'd be called pandering. The kid needed a good old-fashioned spanking. And the problem is, that kid's attitude, that's the attitude of a lot of adults these days. They've been raised that way. But the most amazing thing of all to me is how has all this been allowed to go on? All these statues and monuments and buildings and, I mean, the war memorial, all these things vandalized, the destruction. And here's what gets me. Now, I know the media wants to make you think that the whole country is in an outright civil war, and it's just like the majority are out there doing this. It's not. It's a small minority. A small minority of people are trying to make the most noise, thinking the squeaky wheel gets the grease, you know. And I can't believe the true majority, which are law-abiding people that just want to do their work and make their money and take care of their families and live peaceably and try to prosper and obey the law. The majority of people that love this country and that feel that way are just watching it all happen. Now you might say, "Well, I've watched it all happen." Well, I tell you the truth, I haven't seen any of it around here where I live. Now it may be out there somewhere, but I haven't seen it. But Washington, you know, and Seattle and Minneapolis and some of these places where all this is happening, I mean, it's one thing to say, where's the National Guard, but where are the people? Where are the law-abiding people who aren't standing up to this minority number of people? I'm not talking about a minority in a race. I'm talking about this minority number of people that are acting like little spoiled kids and just need a good spanking. And they say they want justice. They get justice. Majority of them are going to spend a good bit of their lifetime in prison. I try not to comment on and get involved in politics and things, and I guess you could say this is politics, but I tell you, it just amazes me what I see going on in the world. In one way, it shouldn't surprise us because, you know, when evil people do evil, I mean, that's what evil people do. Well, I'll give you real quick the solution. But it'll absolutely solve this problem. These people need Jesus. When you don't have Jesus in your heart and you hadn't renewed your mind to His Word, you just act on emotions. You get mad, you strike out, pitch a fit. Destruction, eye for an eye, payback, payback and give it back double. That kind of attitude, that's just a worldly, fleshly attitude. Jesus wants us to love one another. And it ain't easy. I know it's not easy. These people need to hear the gospel. I'm not saying they'll all receive it, but they at least need to hear it. At the very least, Christians, truly born again Christians, children of God, be bold about your faith. Tell people your testimony. Tell them what Jesus has done in your life. I'm not talking about glorify the devil with all the evil stuff you've done and then I became a Christian, started a church. No, I'm talking about your testimony of how Jesus transformed your life. Tell people everywhere you go. They might laugh at you. They might not want to hear it. You know, Jesus didn't say, go out there and convert people. He said, spread the gospel. Be a witness. Holy Spirit does the work after that. They got to at least hear it. Can you imagine? I don't know if it'd be like this, if this would ever happen, but I thought of this. Say you're standing there in heaven one day before God, and over there on the right side or the left, whichever it is, this large group of people. And the roll's being read. And that group are being told, no, your name's not in the book of life. And they're being cast into the lake of fire. And you imagine looking over there and you see a few of them and you recognize them. And what if they looked at you and pointed a finger at you and said, wait just a minute. I worked with you. How many years? Or I was your neighbor and I lived next door to you for how many years? Why did you never tell me? And you might say, oh, well, I didn't think you'd receive it, or I didn't think you wanted to hear it, or, hey, our job is not to change them. Our job is to sow seed, spread the gospel. And if they receive it, disciple them. Lead them into a mature relationship with the Lord. Teach them all things that Jesus has taught us. That's what these people really need. They need to hear the gospel. Something to think about. God bless you.